Hello guys, today I'm going to talk about Active Directory. So here we go. So Active Directory lets you manage printers, files, user accounts. You lock down what users can do on a network that people can't. You right click, change backgrounds, create folders. In Active Directory, something called domain controllers control Active Directory or AD, just like Exchange controls email services and the Samba server is a file server. Domain controllers are AD servers. Domain controllers or DC is what stores all the information for the user accounts and the computer accounts in Active Directory. Active Directory schema. This is what you add to domain controller user accounts. This is where you add, or the user accounts and computer accounts too. So let me just go into this. So user accounts and computer accounts are added into the database for the domain controller. When you add into info to the database, you're adding info to what is called a schema. Schema is the database, the schema for how data is stored in the domain controller. What type of information about the user accounts and computer accounts are stored in the domain controller database? The schema starts for it will be so the schema you can choose like what data you want to store for the user accounts: username, password, email, office number. For the computer account, it will have the SID, computer name, etc. Schema is the type of the data stored for the user accounts and computer accounts in AD. Schema is very powerful. Schema is expandable and you can add data to it afterwards. Active Directory security groups. So in Active Directory, you have security groups. Active Directory security group who has access to what resources on the network. You can create something called groups in AD. In those groups, you can give access to special folders, printers, etc. Let's say the accounting department or team wants to access a particular folder or access a website. You can put the account person info into the group that you created for the folder, and then they will be able to see it. Okay. Organizational units. These are created for administrational purposes. So Active Directory domains. DC creates domain controller creates what is called a domain. Domain controller contains the user and computers. The users are tied to the domain controller domain, so is the computers. So the domain is all the users and the computer accounts that are tied to the domain controller. Active Directory directory services domains are used for administrative purposes. ADDS. Tree, forest, and domains. Subdomain. Subdomains are created so the main domain is unaffected. With subdomain domains, it has its own domain controllers and domain. For example, Google.com can have a subdomain named Europe.google.com. The reason why subdomains are created, it's because the main domain, or let's say Google.com, wants all the subdomains to have access to the schema. With subdomains, you can lock it down and make it more secure. If you add another subdomain to the main domain, let's say you add africa.google.com, now you have something called transitive trust or two-way implicit trust. So about google.com and a subdomain called europe.com. Well, europe.google.com trust each other. So it works like this: europe.google.com trust equals google.com, and so does africa.google.com. Since Europe and Africa are the subdomain of google.com, they also trust each other. So what trust means is that an employee from google.com can go up to europe.google.com or africa.google.com and give it permission on his domain to the files and folders. So yeah, that's it. You have something called a tree. The tree is when you add subdomains to a main domain. Forest. So a forest is when you connect two domains together through explicit trust. One way implicit trust. So admins from Motorola can give permission to employees from Google.com permission to do stuff within the environment, like give access to files and folders in the Motorola .com domain. You don't need to create user accounts or computer accounts. When you connect different domains, you create one-way explicit trust because each domain has different schemas. So Active Directory, these are some leftover notes or things you should know about. When you create trees, you create two-way explicit trust. When you connect domains together, you create one-way explicit trust. When you add the domains of, let's say, different companies, if one buys the other, then that becomes a forest. Thank you for watching this video. I'll be back shortly with another one. Thank you. Bye.